Hey, good people, good afternoon. It is Veteran Report to VMAC Day, and tomorrow is training camp practice day. We're getting our first training camp practice tomorrow, and as always, when you get to this part of the year, there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of theorizing and projection, and we got a pretty interesting one here, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because people say stuff. People say all kinds of stuff when it comes to prognosticating on who the team is going to get, who the team is going to try to get, how things are going to go over X amount of time. But this caught my attention because of who it came from. This did not come from somebody who is just going to say stuff because he knows it'll get the most attention. This is not somebody who's going to make stuff up. And more than that, it's somebody who has, in my experience, always been a very objective and balanced reporter. It's Brady Henderson. He put together an article for ESPN earlier today, and this has already been all over the Seahawks X community. I've seen a lot of people react to this. I've seen some people in my Discord react to it. By the way, if you're not in the Discord server, link in the description. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about this a little bit. It's in line with stuff that we've already talked about with this team. But first, let's just talk about the article in general. He basically did a 2025 training camp preview, not too unlike the video I made this morning. Maybe he comes to different conclusions, though. And the article is pretty good. You have talking about Sam Darnold, talking about Cup, talking about Arroyo, got some position battles, got some cornerback stuff, got some rookies to keep an eye on, like the Milroe thing, which I mentioned a little bit in the earlier video. It's a good read, but there's one particular part that people have latched onto, and they've really kind of taken notice of when basically digesting the information here. Before we get to that, though, please click the thumbs up button on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. It's here. It's right here in the 53-man roster projection that he did. You can look through the whole thing. There's some interesting stuff here. It's not the same as mine. Mine did end up being a little bit different. But regardless, I doubt either of us are going to get it 100% spot on. That's not really the point. But the whole thing is a certain degree of interesting. But it's this right here that has caught people's attention the most. So Brady Henderson, in his infinite wisdom, has determined that the story is not yet written on this team at outside linebacker. And of course, because we run the 3-4, outside linebacker is really edge rusher. DeMarcus Lawrence, Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, and a player not currently on the roster. He did not do that for any other position. He specifically called out outside linebacker as a position that is going to see another player added to it. So that definitely caught some people's focus, and it's probably the thing that people are discussing the most out of this very good article from a very good reporter. And again, I want to stress, this is Brady Henderson. This is not just somebody who's throwing out guesses. This is not somebody who has no inside information. This is not somebody who doesn't know things. This is somebody who very much knows things. So for him to say something like that, I think it's worth paying attention, and I think it's worth thinking about the possibility of this team adding an outside linebacker not currently on the roster and him making the 53-man. Excuse me. And this is definitely the position that I feel like an addition makes the most sense. Right? You're not going to add a quarterback. That doesn't make sense. You're not going to add a running back. You're not going to add a tight end. You're not going to add a receiver. You might like to add an offensive lineman, but that just doesn't really happen. Offensive linemen that are good are too valuable. Nobody's trading them. Don't need another defensive lineman. Don't need another... Well, you need a depth inside linebacker, maybe. Maybe that would be the one other position. You've taken care of stuff in the secondary. Like, outside linebacker is the position that is clearly the focus of any talks of an addition. And look, understand that this could be him just hedging against the fact that he believes that the team will carry 5 outside linebackers, and he doesn't think any of the guys ahead of these 4 are good enough to make the roster. So he might be implying, look, we're going to sign somebody. We're going to sign some vetmin or vetmin plus player that is just going to basically just sit on the bench most of the season, and they're not going to make a real impact. I just don't know who that player is yet. That's certainly a possible reading here, and if that's how he feels, I think he has a very good reason to feel that way. We do need to hedge a little bit against Nwosu injury. We need to hedge against the fact that DeMarcus Lawrence missed most of the season last year. So carrying 4 guys, even if you like those 4 guys a lot, probably not the right way to go about this. So if we do end up acquiring just a depth piece for cheap, or even a cheap trade, I won't be that surprised. But there does remain the tantalizing possibility of aiming for a higher. Jadeveon Clowney. Right? Like somebody like that would be a more modest option, would not cost that much. There are some issues there. He's a power edge when we already have a power edge in DeMarcus Lawrence. There's an argument to be made that he won't necessarily fit in with the defense that we're running because of the redundancy. But I love Clowney. I've always liked Clowney. Would love to bring him back if at all possible. Maybe that's on the table. And that's somebody that you could add into this rotation and not necessarily feel like you're overstuffed. You could carry those 5 edge rushers and feel like we're going to make this work. Because you already kind of know in your head that Nwosu's not going to make the whole season. He'll play, hopefully, most of it. But you're not really thinking about Nwosu playing all 17 games. That seems unrealistic with what we've seen from him the last 2 years. This might end up being the year we find out that Derek Hall just isn't really what we were hoping. He might end up going the way of a Darrell Taylor. There are already some signs of that. And DeMarcus Lawrence is old, and he's coming off a pretty big injury. So that would be like a nice hedge to give yourself a super deep edge rushing crew that has room for somebody to fail for one reason or another. Now, if you want to dream a little bit bigger, there are still 2 good options out there. And I'll tell you, there's some steam picking up here around the 2 big guns that remain on the market. And by market, I mean trade market, of course. These are not free agents. We've got some stuff going on with Micah Parsons in Dallas. Jerry Jones kind of saying some stuff that seems a little, I don't know, barbed towards Micah Parsons. I don't quite know how to put it, but a lot of people have seen this clip basically saying that even if we sign Micah Parsons, that doesn't mean they'll have him because he might get hurt. He did get hurt last year. He said the same about Dak Prescott. I don't really know what he's trying to get at here. Injuries are part of football. They always have been, and Jerry Jones has been around football for a long time. Not sure why he feels the need to emphasize this, but then you have Micah Parsons. Sorry, I don't want that video to be playing. The NFL will come and kill me. They would just wound me. But there's according to Micah Parsons, not much going on with the contract talks, and there's some indication that he's pretty unhappy with the way things are going. He pointed out in a little interview he did, I think it was earlier today, that hey, Max Crosby got taken care of, Bosa got taken care of, Garrett got taken care of. Why am I not getting taken care of? So he's not thrilled. Now, all he needs to be re-thrilled would be a contract offer that he's willing to sign. Nevertheless, there's something going on here, and that would certainly be the swing for the fences that would put this team on a path to maybe even setting their sights on a championship this year. Like, if you make a move like that, that's what you're saying. And we have more, how should I put, I don't even think it's fair to call this more disharmony. This is going beyond disharmony now. Trey Hendrickson has indicated that the contract talks with the Bengals are going very poorly. Negotiations have hit an impasse. He's currently in Florida. Apparently he is working out, but he's doing it on his own, meaning that He's expressing his distaste for the way the team is treating him by not going to training camp, which that's probably going to cost him some money, but he's been pretty adamant he's not willing to play on this contract. And we know what's going on with Cincinnati. We've talked about it already this offseason. They have ownership that looks at things differently from every other ownership group in this league, even the cheaper ones. The Bengals are built different, and I mean that in the worst way possible. Maybe. It feels like he's going to get traded. I'll say that much. It feels like Hendrickson is going to get traded. Will he get traded to Seattle? Harder to know. There are concerns. There's concerns with all of this. Micah Parsons is a flawed player. Maybe he's not a great fit for what McDonald really wants out of a stud edge player. Maybe he wants somebody a little bit bigger who can hold up against the run better. Trey Hendrickson is on the wrong side of 30. It's going to be it's going to be a relatively short-term thing. You're looking at a couple more years of peak play at best, and you're trying to win a championship during that window. And I don't know if that's the path this team wants to take right now, if they want to push their chips in. But those two things are on the table. Now, for those two guys, you would, of course, have to move one of your existing edge rushers in a trade on top of draft picks. For Parsons, it would cost a lot more than Hendrickson, but you're going to have to give one of those guys up. Nwosu would be preferable because he's almost definitely not going to be here next year regardless. Hall would be fine because I'm a little bit unclear about what his potential is as a player ultimately. Mafe would be the least preferable because I think he's going to be really good this year, and I'm high on him, and he's relatively young, but anything should be on the table when you're talking about making the team better. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. Just thought I'd pass this along because, again, it's Brady Henderson. When he says something like this, it's worth discussing for at least a few minutes. All right, go Hawks.